Hey Village, and welcome to Womanhood Decoded. This is the space where we tackle the hard stuff, celebrate the wins, and everything in between. I'm your host, Tasha Ray. Before we really get started, I want to take the time out to thank each and every one of my viewers and listeners from wherever you are and from whatever platform you are using. I truly appreciate you being here. I want to ground this episode by beginning with this quote. The essence of the independent mind lies not in what it thinks, but in how it thinks. Christopher Hitchens. Today we're going to explore the topic escaping the algorithm. In a world where so much of what we see, click on, and consume is determined by algorithms, this quote serves as both a warning and a reminder. A warning against passively absorbing content that affirms our biases, and a reminder to think critically, independently, and intentionally. So no, I'm not strictly talking about Instagram or TikTok, although these platforms definitely play a role. For the purposes of this conversation, I'm defining algorithm as any set of social or mental presets, whether digital, cultural, or emotional, that filter what we pay attention to and how we behave. I thought it important to examine this idea because, well, you ever find yourself thinking that the wrong things repeatedly get perpetuated while more constructive ideas are often ignored? So let's unpack that. Think about what is trending today or what has made the headlines. Now, let's turn our attention and our focus to what we're really feeding ourselves, mentally, spiritually, socially, and why it matters. An example of this might be society's focus on what we can obtain versus how one does it. In other words, there seems to be such a fixation on the quick fix or the hack versus a time when more of an emphasis was put on the discipline and work it took to master a skill. Let's be real, we live in a culture of hacks. 10 hacks to wake up earlier, 5 steps to millionaire status, 7 steps to true love by summer. The secret to the abs of your dreams is only 3 minutes away, and the list goes on and on. Almost sounds too good to be true, but in most cases, this holds. Of course, there is always an exception. But I believe we are all best served when we focus on developing exceptional skills and attributes so that we are prepared when life gifts us with opportunities. Everyone likes a shortcut, but it's my belief that we are doing ourselves a disservice to seek to always avoid the work. After all, I for one believe it's the pursuit of a skill or passion and the time invested that creates the pathway for deep personal development and growth. Call me old school, but I've seen and personally have experienced the joy that comes from putting in the work to achieve a goal. Looking for the easy way to the finish line might, in fact, be cheating yourself out of a victory. Let that really sink in for a moment. It's understanding that the journey to evolve in the biggest ways are unavailable if we don't allow ourselves the space to actually overcome challenges. Our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, from her book Becoming, put it this way: you don't become what you want. You don't become what you believe. And to become anything of worth, you must be willing to do the work, to wake up early, to try, fail, and try again. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your habits. My takeaway from this powerful thought is it's not about how big your dream is. It's about how consistently you choose to show up. For me, the main theme of the book Becoming is that to become anything of significance, there is a process. And by process, I mean practice, studying, trying, and repeating until whatever skill or challenge is mastered. Sure, talent can play a role, but it is a small role when compared to relentless determination, according to many great minds. Attempting to skip steps can be the difference in truly becoming all that you're meant to be. Becoming by Michelle Obama is one of those gems in my library that each time I revisit, I get a renewed and deeper understanding. I highly recommend it to anyone, especially when embarking on a new life milestone. For far too many of us, the pursuit of the easy way out has replaced the reference for mastery. People want the platform without the process. And that can be dangerous, not just for society, but for the soul. Sure, we've seen how this plays out, for example, with lottery winners. When a huge sum of wealth is acquired without discipline, more often than not, the wealth is almost lost almost as soon as it was won. Why does this happen? Time and time again. Researchers say that it's because if the groundwork isn't established for restraint through one's character development, the lack of self-discipline becomes painfully clear in so many people who hit it big fast and then seem to crash and burn. So, I think the goal should be to avoid, obviously, crashing and burning, if at all possible. But that doesn't mean completely avoiding challenges. The takeaway being to set in motion the mindset and discipline so that when we get our moment to shine, we can sustain it rather than being a one-hit wonder on life's stage. Persevering through difficulty is what creates the emotional fortitude and experience needed to harness the skills and tools to best navigate the winds. Ever notice how so much focus is put on how to overcome hardship and hardly any attention is paid to what to do if we actually get to or attain the level of success we desire? Think about it. When something goes wrong in your life, how long do we spend fixating on all the things and ways we miss the mark? Matthew McConaughey, in his book Green Lights, challenges the reader to study the winds of our life and in the lives of others just as much, if not more, than we do failure. This is because in truly understanding a win, we can repurpose the steps and create wins in other areas of life. Personally, I felt this is a powerful life lesson. Really, really let that hit home for you. There can be a hidden treasure in your wins you can learn to duplicate. This is why taking time to celebrate the wins shouldn't just be a catchphrase, but rather it should be a practice. I have personally seen how this shift in perspective has impacted not only my mindset, but also how I strategize about my next goal. Being in my 40s, I can say with confidence that if I spent more time focusing on how I achieved previous wins, I could have seen possibly bigger returns sooner. But hey, that's part of the process. You can't skip steps. And having seen the value of acknowledging and even studying achievements has led to better outcomes. I'm convinced that this is an idea that I had to share and pass along in a podcast episode. If you really stop to think about it, anything that you excel at, chances are it's because you have spent countless hours and time into doing that thing well. Conversely, if the same results aren't seen in other areas of your life, it's because the same level of preparation isn't being deposited into that part of your life. What we choose to spend our time on will yield a return. There's really no two ways about it. Putting in the time creates the results. The idea of curating one's feed is often a focus at the beginning of the year, when the collective mind of our society seems to, for if only for a moment, to focus on the actions of the previous year. However, in many cases, by the time Black History Month or February rolls around, many of us have abandoned our ideas of change in favor of old habits. I would like to suggest that we put in our calendars a reminder to check in with yourself quarterly to see that you're not wavering from the path of personal elevation you previously determined was a better use of your time and energies. To make this even more interactive, you might want to choose to tell those in your circle so that you can all hold one another up to a higher standard. My suggestion is to make it a practice at least 4 times a year, where each member explores these ideas. Am I growing? Am I aligned in my purpose? Am I living my truth? If it is discovered that not as much progress has been made, that means that you can redirect right then. But you cannot redirect without being aware. This is why the practice of being intentional is such an important key to living a fulfilled life. Now, let's pivot a bit. Algorithms don't just shape what we consume online or how we spend our time or our money. They also shape what we believe we're capable of. Many of us have been emotionally programmed by past trauma, past expectations, by messages we get through media in all of its forms, music, movies, social media, and even capitalism. These themes or presets help to control and ultimately determine what we believe we are worthy of or even capable of producing in our lives. This is a hard algorithm to explore and to escape, but it is worth it. Personal development requires self-awareness. And in the words of Octavia Butler, all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. Parable of the sower. We don't get to growth by staying emotionally comfortable. We get there by digging deep and by engaging with what is hard. And in this process, this is how we evolve. History continues to remind us by involving others in our accountability journeys, we can create a small ripple that can become a wave of positive change in our lives and in the lives of others. I can tell you from personal experience, when I have chosen to tap into the resources of my village, be it through organizations I am a part of or in less formal ways by just telling a trusted person in my circle, I have been able to see bigger and better results in my own life. There is a widely known African proverb that couldn't be more relevant to this discussion that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This proverb speaks to the power of community, collaboration, and collective strength, reminding us that while independence may offer speed, interdependence offers sustainability and legacy. That's why I believe in journaling, therapy, coaching, and community conversations. Whatever practice helps you disrupt your internal algorithm long enough to ask, is this practice still serving me? Or is this just something I'm familiar with? And if the answer is no, it's time to re-examine or to rewrite the code. The key here is understanding. It's not one size fits all for any of us. What has worked for me might work for you, but chances are you have to try a few different things for you to unlock what's truly inside of you. This is the process and the work you want to truly dig into. It's the part of your personal growth journey that will yield the biggest return when you choose to invest in yourself. You get to see that the collection of practices that works best for you. For one, they might be able to simply go to therapy. But for another person, the act of going to therapy alone in and of itself won't suddenly unlock all of the roadblocks they might be experiencing. Rather, it's the practice of being intentional, combining therapy and possibly exercise or dietary changes that might be the formula for you to experience a breakthrough. But you won't be able to discover your personal sweet spot without exploring different modalities, be it meditation, physical movement, or whatever it is that gets you to shake loose from your own repetitive behaviors, thoughts, or programming. Now, this journey might seem like a solo sport, and it is in certain times, but that's only part of the experience. Learning to tap into your village and into your circle is when you can start to see how your mindset or algorithm is shifting. It can be such a fulfilling and life-affirming experience to realize that others are on a similar path in their life. And this village or community is what will be the key to helping you get to the next step in your journey and personal evolution. In this way, you will be able to reflect back to one another through sharing and transparency, which will absolutely take vulnerability. But let's be honest, being vulnerable can be scary. But the silver lining about this is that when you share, more often than not, others will be empowered to share, and you'll discover you aren't alone in your experience or in your journey. And here's the thing about surrounding yourself with people who are committed to your growth as well as their own. They don't just cheer you on, they challenge you. With grace, they call out your attention when you are slipping, when you've lost your footing and or your direction. They will mirror back to you what you've forgotten about your own power. After all, we all need a pep talk or a soft landing when life seems to be doing the absolute most. In these ways, doing the work independently and with the support of your village, that you are truly rewriting the algorithm of your life. No one's process is a straight road to personal fulfillment and enlightenment. Anyone that says it is, well, in my opinion, they aren't to be trusted. After all, no one ever developed grit and perseverance by going from win to win. In fact, it is the lessons that are learned from the gaps in between the highlights of our lives is most often where the best lessons are. We're not here to live pre-programmed lives. We're here to live intentional ones. And that means, to me at least, questioning everything, our habits, our influences, even our goals. And the purpose of all this is so that we can continue to elevate and redirect ourselves when needed, because after all, isn't that the goal? Let's not become so addicted to all the messaging in the algorithms and messages around us that we lose sight of what it is that we are truly meant to become, what we are meant to grow and develop into, how we are to evolve, how we fall, and how we got back up. This is how the soul grows. This is what truly evolving looks like. Again, it is a process. It is my hope that this isn't just a podcast topic. I believe that it is a life assignment to choose to escape the programming and algorithms that no longer serves us. Now, before we wrap this episode, I want us to take a moment to circle back to that Hitchens quote I began with. The essence of the independent mind lies not in what it thinks, but in how it thinks. And Village, let's remember, we are all in this together. Let's keep this conversation going. Connect with me on social media and LinkedIn. Remember, your support truly means the world, and it is what keeps this podcast going. So take a moment to leave a comment on YouTube. Thank you for taking time to tune into Womanhood Decoded. If today's conversation has sparked something in you, an urge to move differently, to think deeper, and to intentionally design a life that reflects your highest self, then go ahead and share this episode with a friend, family member, or coworker. As always, I am your host, Tasha Ray. Until next time, bye-bye.